Because this movie is about snow, I thought it was appropriate to get the Christmas lights up. So let's talk about The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Comment down below, what did you think of this film? Were you a lover of this film? Did you read the book? Was this a good, faithful adaptation? I would love to hear your thoughts and your comments down below. And also, while you're down there, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to my channel for more content. Today, we're talking about the 2023 action thriller fantasy follow-up in the franchise of The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Set 64 years before Katniss Everdeen, Coriolanus Snow mentors and develops feelings for the female District 12 tribute during the historic 10th Hunger Games.
Welcome to the capital.
You look like you shouldn't be here.
I shouldn't, but I'm your mentor.
A rebel.
I am gonna get you out of here.
So first of all, I've never read the books by Suzanne Collins. I actually have read the first Hunger Games book, but that was for school, basically, for an assignment. And honestly, I really do enjoy the first Hunger Games set of movies. I actually really enjoyed this film. I was so shocked. I had zero expectations for this movie because I didn't even know that this was based on a book. And then I found out from a friend of mine whose wife really loves this series, and she has read all the books and including this one that this film's based on. My wife was really excited for this film too, so I was kind of like, all right, I'll go check it out. I never would have thought of this would have made an interesting and great movie. And it was. I'm shocked. Surprise! This is a really well-told story. And in this case, I would be interested to hear from people if they like the book more or if this was a terrible adaptation. So let me know in the comments down below because I'm curious about that. For me, as just a person who's going to see a fantasy adventure film, I enjoyed this movie. Francis Lawrence is back, baby. He did an awesome job. Him and his team, first of all, just the style, and again, setting this like 64 years before Katniss Everdeen enters the ring. So it's a different world. It is a totally different world there in Panem and in the capital. And everything's in ruins and things are not looking well. The Hunger Games are kind of like only a capital thing only. So it's interesting to see where the Hunger Games are at, where it's this kind of small, little contained fight. Usually it lasts like one day, and that's kind of it. It's not this spectacle. And this movie is about how the games become what they are, or what we know by the time Katniss Everdeen enters the arena. But that's because of Snow and his rising through the ranks and trying to become a rich man. And I love that you really get to see his backstory. And Francis Lawrence and his writers did a fantastic job of making us feel for Snow. Because in the first 3-4 movies that are with Katniss Everdeen, like, you hate him. He's such a great, despicable villain.
You should imagine thousands upon thousands of your people dead.
How did he become that? He seems like he could be a really nice, charming guy. Why did he become so kind of the epitome of evil? This film fills in so many gaps that I didn't know that needed to be filled, and I loved it. It was so great to see his backstory, and we sympathize with him, but to a certain point. It's amazing how much they make us cheer for him and root for him, and also for Lucy Gray in the film. And that is probably the thing I was most impressed with this film. The story itself was interesting and thrilling. I was enticed from beginning to end. I'm ready for them to make a bunch more of these movies set in this world. They could go back and do like Phoenix Game, how he won. I got excited for this world again, and I didn't think that Francis Lawrence and his team were gonna do that for me. I was impressed.
Cool.
I thought the acting was really good. Of course, our two leads of Tom Blyth as Snow was a great casting choice, and Rachel Zegler as Lucy Gray. I thought both of them did a really good job with their roles. Rachel Zegler can sing, my God. I mean, of course, she's in West Side Story, and she was awesome in that film. Just looking at this film as a performance, I thought she did an awesome job. I love how people are commenting, there's so many songs and there's so much singing in this film. I'm like, yeah, it's called The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Like,
No way.
of course there's going to be a lot of singing in it. Why would that be surprising? And I loved it. The music in this film is beautiful, awesome to listen to. Of course, they got the Hanging Tree song, but a couple of the other new songs they added in were just nicely penned, beautiful soundtrack. Rachel Zegler did a great job performing them. I thought that their chemistry was pretty good. It wasn't like the strongest love connection in a film, so I will say that, but I thought they did a fairly good job for what they had, and especially because this movie is 2 hours and 30 minutes, but there's a lot that goes on in this movie, and a lot has to be revealed, and the fact that you still have to tell like a love story in there as a part of the center of the main story is difficult to do, and I thought they executed it fairly well. And the execution around that story and like how heartbreaking it is for Snow at certain points and why he is the way he is, you get to hear and see a lot of context to his character. That is also revealed through his story with Lucy and his story with the games, his story with his mentor, played brilliantly by Viola Davis. Oh my gosh, she is just eating up the scenery in this movie. She is having so much fun. What a great villainous performance. She looks the part, her voice, just the way she carries herself, the style and the costumes. Oh, now granted, she has the more juicier role and she's got like a lot to chew on in this movie, but I thought she was just phenomenal. I mean, of course, this is why she's an Academy Award winner. She is magnificent.
You're monsters! All of you!
Jason Schwartzman as Flickerman, as Caesar Flickerman's like grandfather or whatever it is. He is the first host of the Hunger Games, and I loved him. He was hysterical, so well executed, so well casted, and he is definitely one of the standout performances in this movie.
First ever host of the Hunger Games.
Enjoy the show.
The action was pretty good, and like what they have, the fight scenes in the arena were very visceral and violent, of course, but I don't think these games were meant to be about the fighting in the arena. It's definitely not focused on that. It is more focused on the things behind the scenes and like Snow watching Lucy fighting in the arena and how he's trying to help her and save her with like drones and stuff like that. I think that's more the movie and then how the games became to be. So the games themselves are pretty bare bones. It's like in a destroyed arena, like basically supposed to be a quick slaughter fest. It's so interesting how this world is shown through the 10th Hunger Games and through the view of the 10th Hunger Games. The tributes are in a zoo for most of the movie leading up to when they get thrown into the arena, and they're not treated as like these big spectacle victors and almost like pop stars of the Capitol, but instead like animals, and then they're just like thrown into these cages and then thrown into this circular arena. And so it was interesting to see that world built, and I loved it. I thought it was really well done. The set design, the costumes, the props, the production was amazing. Of course it was with the other films, so I wasn't expecting anything less, but this was such a cool and different kind of world because it's set so early. There's a really cool design. It almost looks like the 1920s, 1930s, and it just dives deeper into the lore. I absolutely love that. I thought everything had a good purpose, a strong sense of urgency to it. I felt invested in these characters and in this story itself. I wanted to learn more, and they left me hanging, wanting more as well. So I thought they did a really good job.
That was totally wicked!
The biggest problem with this film is there's a third act issue. Now, I'm not saying the third act is bad. In fact, it has some of the best moments of the movie, but it also has the slowest pace. This movie is a very differently structured film compared to all the other Hunger Game movies, because most of the Hunger Game movies have ended with the Hunger Games coming to an end, or a big event that just happened, or the war ends, you know, something like that. This film ends more on a personal and deeper level than just like a big event happening. It doesn't culminate in a grand epic climax, which is a very interestingly paced film. So the first act, you just jump right into this world and it's like you get taken off, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, with all the things that are happening in the background and all the political stuff and the preparation for the games, and you meet Lucy and she's thrown into the world of the Capitol and then quickly into the games, and that first two acts just fly by. And then the last 40 minutes or so of the film, it just and it slows down. It's not necessarily a bad thing because of what happens. There's a change for Snow and his character, and he's in a different situation altogether than what he was in the first 2 acts of this film. It's a more personal story. It does slow down the movie a bit. You know, about 2 hours and 15 minutes in, I was kind of checking my watch, you know, looking for the time. And I just felt that was because of how just the movie was structured overall. But I get why they had to structure it that way, because Snow continues on and then eventually is back in the Capitol and long term becomes the president. Because of that, they have to end the story a bit differently, and it feels a little muddled. It feels a bit rushed at times, the last 30 minutes. But I also understand, because they don't want this movie to be over 3 hours long. I've been complaining about how so many movies recently are way too long, and this movie's just over 2.5 hours. So I felt like it had a really good timing, a really good pacing to it, but then I don't want it to be too long, so I'm kind of like stuck between a rock and a hard place. Go! I definitely did not want them to break up this film and do like a part 2. I would have rolled my eyes. I might have even not have gone to see this film if that was the case, because I absolutely hated what they did with Mockingjay. So I appreciate that they were able to get this all in one movie, but it did feel rushed at parts. That's my biggest qualm with this movie, and it's really not even that bad. It doesn't derail the film or anything like that at all. So overall, I did enjoy this film. I had a lot of fun. It was thrilling and enticing, a really interesting look at the world that we thought we knew, but how it's so different and how it changed and became the world that we now know. And where would I rank this film amongst my Hunger Game rankings? I still would say Catching Fire is ultimately my favorite one. Second is The Hunger Games, the very first Hunger Games movie, but right next to it, or at least kissing on the heels of those two movies, is this film. Before I give my final thoughts and grades on this film, please make sure you click that like button and subscribe to my channel for more content. Also, comment down below, what did you think of this film? Which one of the Hunger Games movie is your favorite? I would love to hear your thoughts and comments down below. Definitely go check it out in the theaters, because Snow always lands on top. Love that line in this movie.
It's just coming.
I'm gonna go ahead and give The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, an A-. Thank you so much for checking out Mr. Teach Film Preach. Come back and check out some other videos like the Top 10 MCU Film Discussion video with my special guest from YK Reviews, and The Killer by David Fincher. Have a great day, everyone. Stay focused, stay awesome, and as always, let's get taught.